Safety. The policy of the YMCA of Austin is to protect the safety and health of our volunteers, members, and employees. Our goal is to foster a safe work environment and attitude of caring and concern for everyone's safety and well-being. The ultimate end of the goal is to reduce the frequency and severity of incidents and injuries. Acceptance and fulfillment of the safety and risk control responsibilities required in each job will be an integral step in accomplishing this goal. Responsibilities of supervisors. Supervisory personnel are directly responsible for teaching all employees under their jurisdiction the proper procedures and safe methods to utilize in performing work duties, for taking immediate corrective measures to eliminate hazardous conditions and/or practices, and preventing accidents, whether bodily injury or property damage. All supervisors must enforce the established safety program at all times. Responsibilities of non-supervisory employees. The YMCA of Austin expects each employee to cooperate in every aspect with all safety policies and procedures as applicable to his or her position assignment. Some of the major points of our safety program include but are not limited to the following. Employee training, current first aid CPR AED certification, annual or Redwoods, child abuse prevention, principles of youth protection, bloodborne pathogens. Compliance. An employee is required to report any work-related injury or illness to a supervisor immediately, but in no event later than 24 hours after the injury or illness occurs. All accidents, injuries, and incidents should be documented on the appropriate forms and reported to the Human Resources Department within 24 hours by the staff supervisor. Where required, all employees must wear personal protection equipment. Employees must report hazardous conditions and other safety concerns to their supervisor and/or a representative of management immediately. Each employee has a responsibility for his or her own safety as well as the safety of fellow employees, participants, volunteers, and members. Emergency action procedures. All employees are expected to follow the emergency action procedures listed below when an emergency arises. If an injury requires first aid or CPR, take immediate and appropriate steps. Contact authorities. For the police, an ambulance, or for the fire department, call 911. Make sure that all children are in a supervised group away from the actual emergency. Contact the branch executive. They will then contact the risk management director, president, CEO, or vice president of mission advancement. Cooperate fully with the authorities. Do not volunteer information to spectators or strangers. Explain that we are still investigating. Know and document the essential facts, details, and phone conversations. Make sure that Y employees have contact information for children involved so that parents can be informed quickly. Always refer questions from reporters and the media to the Vice President of Mission Advancement or the Executive Director. Do not volunteer opinions, speculate on causes for the emergency, or make policy statements. If child abuse is suspected, immediately contact CPS. Then contact your branch executive director. Again, document and record all phone calls and essential facts relevant to the incident. Okay, safety procedures. Follow instructions. Don't take chances. If you don't know, ask. Report immediately any condition or activity that might cause injury to persons or damage to buildings or equipment. Put everything in its proper place. Disorder causes injury and wastes time, energy, and material. Keep work areas clean and orderly. Use the right tools and equipment for the activity and use them safely. Whenever you or the equipment you use is involved in an accident, report the accident immediately, regardless of how minor. Get first aid promptly. Be alert and prepared to anticipate the action of others, over whom you have no control. Use flammable liquids only as directed. Keep them to a minimum and handle them with care. Do not engage in horseplay. Avoid distracting others. When lifting, bend your knees, grasp the load firmly, and then raise the load, keeping your back as straight as possible. Get help for heavy loads. Obey all rules, signs, and instructions. Properly use all personal safety equipment provided by the Y. Inclement weather. During inclement weather, national crisis, or other emergencies, the branches may close early, open late, or not open at all. But all such decisions will be made by the president or CEO of the association. Each employee is responsible to contact their supervisor for verifying whether his or her department will be open or closed. A communication system is established by each area to facilitate word of closure and or late openings. Sometimes the branch is open, but certain employees aren't able to make it to the office. If you have a safety concern as it relates to your driving conditions, you are asked to use your best judgment, making safety a primary concern. Non-exempt employees will not be paid for time missed because of inclement weather if the branch remains open, although they are entitled to use any accrued paid vacation or personal leave. If an exempt employee misses a full day because the employee can't get to work but the branch is open, then the YMCA will make deductions from salary or accrued vacation or personal leave for the absence. But if the branch shuts down for the day and the employee is available and ready to work, then the YMCA will not make such a deduction. If an exempt employee misses only part of the day, no deduction will be made from salary, although half-day increments of accrued vacation or personal leave may be applied to the absent. Bloodborne pathogens. The YMCA of Austin seeks to minimize the risk of exposure to bloodborne pathogens by periodically training employees who may encounter bloodborne pathogens in the course of their work. The Y subscribes to the concept of universal precautions, which means that all employees are required to treat all human blood or other bodily fluids as if the substance were contagious, i.e., were contaminated by bloodborne pathogens. Universal precautions means that you are expected to exercise work practice controls and to use personal protective equipment, such as gloves, for example, when necessary. The Y has procedures for confidential medical evaluation and follow-up in the event that an employee reports exposure to bloodborne pathogens. Should an exposure incident occur, immediately inform your supervisor. Each exposure must be documented on an incident report and submitted to your supervisor. All new employees are required to attend bloodborne pathogens training, or Redwoods, within the first 90 days of employment. The training is at the cost of the YMCA and is a condition of employment. Knowing the Emergency Action Plan, the EAP. The Emergency Action Plan, or the EAP, is a document that is located at all areas of the facility. The EAP's purpose is to provide our staff with a quick go-to guide to safety in the case of an emergency. We urge all employees to review this regularly. In an emergency situation, an employee is expected to conduct themselves in a calm and professional manner. Here are some of the most important factors to review. Your department's evacuation plan. You will be responsible for checking all areas that are assigned to your department. This will be a crucial factor for saving lives in an emergency situation. When referring to the EAP, look at the area labeled Evacuation Procedures for your department's areas. The evacuation meeting area. The main meeting area, or safe area, during an evacuation will be at the soccer field by Dahlstrom Middle School. However, pavilion and outdoor pool participants safe area is a playscape located at the Sportsplex, City Park. What to do in case of a fire or smoke. In the case of fire or smoke, make sure to pull the fire alarm and call 911, evacuate, and follow the evacuation plan. What to do in an active shooter event. In the case of an active shooter event, one must remember to avoid, exit the building as soon as possible. Deny access to the facility by the active shooter. Defend. As necessary, defend yourself from being victim in the active shooter event. It is important that you use your best judgment when interpreting these guidelines. We understand that in this situation, it's hard to predict how one might react. What to do in case of a bomb threat or suspicious package. Call 911 and follow evacuation procedures. Do not re-enter the facility until the authorities have cleared it. Child abuse, red flag behavior. The first thing to do if you suspect child abuse is to contact CPS and report to them what you observed or what you have been told. Then you would contact your executive director. They will determine who should then be informed. It is crucial that you keep these matters private out of respect for the potential victims of abuse. Please review the EAP for examples of red flag behaviors. Again, it is crucial that you interpret these examples to the best of your abilities. Many of these behaviors may not always indicate that a child is being abused. For instance, if a child does not get along with others, is quiet and doesn't want to participate, it does not necessarily mean that they are experiencing abuse. However, if a child is exhibiting several of these behaviors and you have determined that it is not considerably normal behavior, then they may be considered to be red flag behaviors. The Redwoods Child Abuse Training can provide more examples of this. Missing person. In cases where there are missing persons, a representative from all departments needs to be involved in the search. Every search must begin from the last known locations of the missing person. Missing child. Call 911 and start getting a detailed description of the child, name and age, physical description like height and how they were dressed, when and where the child went missing, description of the situation, and their emergency contact information. Follow the search procedures that reflect the evacuation plan. In other words, search the areas that are assigned to you and your department. Missing adult. Similarly to a missing child, you would get a detailed description, determine where they were last seen, and follow the search procedures. Make sure their emergency contact is notified and to call 911. Weather is unpredictable. That is why it is important that you know what to do in the situation where there is severe weather. For lightning, storms, rain, etc., refer to the inclement weather section above. When it comes to situations like a tornado watch, where there is a high probability of a tornado passing by the area, the staff are to follow our evacuation search criteria and guide our members to our safe areas, the men and women's locker rooms. In other words, make sure that all areas are clear and that everyone is informed about our safe areas. When there is an indication for bad weather, it is important to inform members that the YMCA may be closing early. There may be members that might want to leave during these events rather than go into our safety zone. While we must ensure the safety of our members, we cannot enforce that they stay. Chemical exposure. While at the Y, a staff member may come in contact with harmful chemicals. Whether it be eye contact, chemical inhalation, or ingestion, it is important that you follow first aid procedures. Some chemicals can prove to be fatal. It is important to refer to the material safety data sheet located at the Welcome Center. It's a yellow and red binder. This will contain information about what to do when someone has been exposed to a particular chemical. In cases where someone has had chemical exposure to their eyes, our staff have eye flush facilities available. First aid, life-threatening injury, or seizures. Our staff that are trained in CPR and first aid are expected to be prepared for an emergency at any time. A member may suffer a heart attack, stroke, seizure, etc. Again, please refer to the EAP in your area for more detailed solutions and suggestions. The EAP will also contain every important phone number that one will need when contacting either a staff leader, emergency response team, or non-emergency numbers. About incident reports. Incident reports are utilized as a means to collect information about an accident or incident that has occurred. Every department should have access to incident reports. If you cannot locate one, you can ask someone at the Welcome Center to supply one for you. It is important to fill out the information as accurately as possible. If you are uncertain as to whether you should do an incident report, do one anyway to be on the safe side. Some common examples of incidents might include theft in the locker room, someone driving too fast in the parking lot, altercation between members. These are just a few examples. Some common examples of accidents might include slips, trips, and falls, injuries someone might suffer while in the gym, first aid, putting a band-aid on someone. Again, these are just a few examples of what might happen. Hays Communities Safety Review. EAP. The EAP is your go-to plan for any emergencies that occur at the Hays Communities YMCA branch. The emergency action plan can be located at the Welcome Center. Phones. It is important to know how to properly use a phone at the time of an emergency. Dialing 911, contacting EMS, and notifying staff are essential tasks that must be known to all employees. Fire extinguishers. The fire extinguishers can make all the difference in an emergency situation. The extinguishers are located throughout the facility in case of emergency. Oxygen unit. Oxygen is only to be administered by those trained in this: lifeguards and swim instructors. Evacuation plans. Our evacuation plans are mapped out and located throughout the facility so that every department knows what routes and procedures to take in an emergency. AED. Automatic External Defibrillator. Several AEDs are located throughout the facility. These will be utilized in the case of a CPR-related emergency. Incident reports. Filling out reports accurately is just as crucial as handling the emergency itself. Review how to do this with your supervisor and familiarize yourself with different types of incidents, accidents, and emergency situations. First aid kits. First aid kits are located throughout the facility. Make sure you know where the nearest first aid kits are located in case of an emergency. The YMCA Handbook. The YMCA Handbook is a comprehensive information guide that has more information available to our staff. A copy can be located at the Welcome Center or online. Lost and found. Our members will often misplace items such as water bottles, mobile devices, bags, wallets, and other personal items. It is up to our staff to ensure the safekeeping of our members' lost items. MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet. In our facility, our staff and patrons may be exposed to harmful chemicals. Our MSDS will help you understand what to do in cases of spills, leaks, and exposure.